Hey guys, welcome back to the channel.
So in this video we will share with you our upcoming mods for the Unimog and as well our plans for the camper.
Alright, so as you guys know, we've done a huge amount of work on the actual cab. We really wanted to tackle that first because that's obviously, we're driving in that. If we want to go camping in it and stuff, it was just way too loud, way too hot. So what we're still waiting on is we're still waiting on Ange's seat base to be manufactured, and we're waiting for the middle dicky seat sort of rack or mount for it, so that we can fit 2 other people in here. So obviously Ange included. So yeah, we can't finish off the carpet, which is annoying because we spend so much time doing everything. It's annoying when you can't finish a job and you just want to get it done and tick that list. But yeah, very disappointed with how long that's taken from the fabricator, but that's life. Other than that, the only thing we would really like to do is put in some more electrical stuff. So things like a UHF radio, a reverse camera. I'm kind of sourcing that at the moment. I think I'm going to go for a 4-camera system. So we'll have 2 on the side, 1 on the very front and 1 on the back, so that I can really kind of see where my wheels are and placements and things like that off-road. And aircon, we haven't decided on aircon. Our budget is really tight, so we may not have it left over at this stage. Also, putting aircon into these isn't as simple as it sounds, so we need to put that condenser somewhere. Now there are kits you can get that go underneath the standard passenger driver's base, but we're not going to have that. What we might end up having to do is having something up where the glove box is at the moment, but I like keeping that old glove box like fascia. It doesn't hold much, but I don't want to be tearing the cab apart to make it look kind of modern. So we might get some boat fans for now, and yeah, hopefully we can sort out some aircon at a later date. We're even going to look into maybe doing it above my head, but then that means chopping through the roof. We don't really want to do either. But yeah, so that's how the cab's coming along. So next up, front bar, a lot of people are asking about. As you can see, there's a big gaping hole here. This is a bit of a surprise, but we will be running a front winch, and I will probably attempt to do some bar work myself. Nothing extreme. We're going to keep how solid this stock bull bar is. We're going to utilize that. I don't think there's any point changing it. For the front here, we do need to get a new emblem because our one was broken, and those emblems on the front are actually just plastic, so they're really brittle. So that needs to be sorted. I want to work on bar work very, very soon as well for the rest of the cab. I don't want this to get hit by trees and stuff too much. I don't want the snorkel getting smashed up, so I'm thinking about maybe having a bar that comes from here up, across, up and over the cab. 1 piece of steel bar across the front, and that's where we're going to mount our laser lamps, which are a British manufacturer of like off-road and racing LED lights. And I'm like a little kid at Christmas waiting so that I can actually like put all the lights on. I won't talk too much about that, but we're ready to go on that front. And then something needs to be said for the tyres. So these are the tyres that the Australian Army runs. When they purchased the Unimogs, the Australian Army, and did the contract with Mercedes, these Unimogs are meant to be on a much larger tyre. So it's one of the reasons why top speed's like 85k an hour. These aren't big enough for this truck. I assume the Australian Army went with these is because they are relatively reliable and quite cheap and affordable for them to buy in mass. One of the upgrades that most people do is they buy an aluminium Hutchinson beadlock wheel, which is legal in Australia, and they come out of the US Army. So the US Army use those on a lot of their trucks and armored personnel carriers. Now, they're crazy expensive, so you see a lot of these guys with Unimogs running them, but you'd be surprised just how much money they actually cost. And then they usually run a 395 XZL Michelin tyre, which are either second-hand imported over from the States as ex-military stock. New, also mental expensive, like $2,200 minimum per tyre. like crazy money. There are other things we can do, but I've found it very, very difficult to work out exactly what we should do. In Europe, they often run like a split rim, like in Germany on their big trucks. We've got a few little options, but we haven't jumped straight into what everyone else is doing because it would be a huge chunk of our budget. So yeah, that is going to come at a bit of a later date, but if it was up to Ange and I, we would have sorted this by now. But these are very unreliable off-road. So when you drop tire pressure, they don't bag out much, they don't have any sidewall protection, and they just don't grip and they don't clear mud or anything like that. So and they're especially bad in sand, they just spin. So far no plans to change the air system. We can fill up the tires with the stock air tanks. We're just going to leave that as it is. This is the battery box, so our two 12-volt starters are in, obviously 24-volt system. I will probably end up moving this somewhere else or changing the box altogether so that we can run a second fuel tank, and that's probably what I'll do budget wise. It's 160 litres. So I think 260 litre diesel tanks will be absolutely fine for us at this stage. We can always upgrade at a later date. I do know though that I don't just want to rely on 160 litres. So the other thing is that the fuel float gauge is out. So when you fill it up, it only shows like it's halfway. So we just fill up the whole time, Ange and I, when we don't really need to. And then it kind of defeats the purpose of having a pretty large diesel tank. So I've got to do something about that. Right, now on the back, I will definitely be running a rear winch. Mainly because obviously if you go and get stuck, it's much safer for you to pull yourself out backwards rather than go further into the problem. So there will be a winch here. I haven't decided how I'm gonna, what sort of a cradle to do or anything. Got a few ideas. Obviously these aren't the stock mud guards, so they had to come off because they actually attached to the wooden tray. So probably have to do some modifications there so they actually attach to the steel. Then they'll have to be all sanded and wrapped coated black again as well. So we've still got a little bit more painting to do, Ange, don't get too excited yet. In the back here, not too much else that I'll be changing. Now to this side, as you know, I chopped out the stock muffler. It was very restrictive and I didn't like where it exited right by one of the tires. So whenever I was doing anything with the tire, I was just eating diesel fumes. So I've purchased a resonator from Amazon. I'll be putting that in soon, and then a little downpipe so it faces the ground. So we'll probably have a resonator here and then something else. And then at a later date, I'll probably end up modding that so that I can fit something here. Ange and I are thinking maybe an outdoor barbecue, something along those lines. All right, and now to our plans on the back, or the camper. So what we've got here is our flooring, which will need to be chopped into sections. Now it's called Thermolite, and it is fiberglass mixed with a very, very high density structural foam, and it makes really good flooring. It doesn't take on water, it doesn't bend, warp. You can screw into it, you can glue it. It's bloody expensive, as we found out, but that is definitely the way to go. So that'll actually be the flooring on the inside of our camper as well as the outside underneath, and we'll put something over the top for it to be really nice inside. But yeah, that's our flooring right there, so that's the beginning. So when you've got an expedition truck, so many people do all kinds of different things. We have decided to go with the more modern route, which seems to be what a lot of these Australian caravan manufacturers are doing, and what a lot of these like expedition vehicle manufacturers are doing overseas in like Europe. What it is we're going to basically make almost like a refrigeration truck. So there's not going to be any kind of steel frame, which freaks a lot of people out, including me when I first started researching it. What it's going to be is a fiberglass panel, so it's roughly 2 or 3 millimeters of fiberglass sheet, and then behind that is XPS foam, it's called. It's like a blue high density foam, has a really good R insulation value, and then there'll be another 2 or 3 millimeter sheet of fiberglass which sandwiches it, and it creates a really nice finish. So finished product on the outside, finished product on the inside at once. All the walls and the ceiling are put together. It's actually incredibly strong and durable. The Unimog is famous for its torsion-free frame. It can pivot and move separate of the cab. So when you're going off-road, you're not getting this huge amount of twist force going through the actual chassis. So that's not going to like tear our camper apart like some people were concerned about. That is why the Unimog is famous. The downside of it is that the tray starts incredibly high, as you can tell. So much higher than other trucks. That is one downside. It does mean that our camper is going to be very high. We looked into like a pop top idea, and there are many downsides to a pop top in terms of storage space, how it operates, technical issues. We didn't want to have any canvas because we do want to be going into sub-zero temperatures. So we want to be able to really insulate the cabin.
So let me take you on a little tour of our camper. So just behind me here, we'll start by the left. We will have a garage here, which is gonna be the entire length of the truck. So a very big garage. We'll potentially have our gray water tank as well on the other side. Above that, we will have a bunk bed with the potential to get a second bunk bed if we ever need it. We are not too sure yet, but we've got the potential for it. Here behind the cab, you can see there are two windows. This is where potentially in the future we'll be able to build a crawl through. So a crawl through is just a space where you can basically jump from the cab directly to your camper. Moving on here, roughly, we'll have our bathroom. So we'll have a proper shower and as well a compost toilet, which is really good to have that on board. Next to the bathroom, we'll have a big cabinet, which will be mostly for electronics. We don't know yet exactly how much space it's gonna take. We may have a little bit of leftover for clothes storage or other kind of storage, but that will be everything like batteries, lithium, inverter, all the off-grid solar system will be in there. Over here, roughly just above the tire, I believe, we've got our door, which we haven't really decided what we're gonna do in terms of stairs. As you can see, is roughly 1.4 meters high right now. So we'll definitely need like a system to be able to jump in the mug, because right now, obviously, we can't get in. Over here at the back, this is our living quarter. We'll have a U-shaped couch, and on top of it, we'll have a queen size bed on actuators. So this will be where we'll, I guess, spend most of our time. We'll be eating there, we'll be working there, we'll try to make it as comfortable as possible. And over here at the back, we'll have a 45-degree angle, and the box will go straight from there, leaving us potential the space to have a motorcycle carrier at the back. Chris is very happy. So we haven't used the maximum length that we are allowed, so that we've got some potential to have some things on the side hanging. So just to give a little bit more details about the back. So under the couch as well, we'll have a lot of storage where we'll have our freshwater water tank, we'll have our diesel and water heater, we'll have potentially the air conditioning as well over there, and other kind of storage that at this stage we haven't quite decided yet. And to give as well a bit more indication about that bed on actuators. So basically it's almost like a lift, like it will go up and down on top of the couch so that we don't waste any living space. Some people have the bed already set up, which we'll be able to. We'll have our doona, our pillows, everything up there, but at least we'll have that sitting space during the day, and we can just lower the bed just before going to sleep. So on that side here, we've got a very spacious kitchen. I mean, as spacious as you can get in a Unimog, where we will have 2 induction hobs and as well a little sink, and as well lots of storage underneath. We'll have a big window just above it, just so that we can open it and see everything around us when we cook. We won't have gas actually in the Unimog. We've decided to go as much solar powered as we can, and obviously we'll have a few things diesel powered, like I mentioned, for the heater. And just next to the kitchen here, we'll have a fridge and freezer and pantry. We are looking at getting a 190 liters, approximately 12-volt fridge, so that we've got enough food to stay off-grid for at least minimum 2 weeks, or even more than that.
Okay, so basically just a big recap. We are going to have a fiberglass shell, big old camper. It's not going to be a pop top, it'll be a permanent height. We're trying to stick around the 3.6 meters high sort of rule. So yeah, it's going to be really high, but we should be able to fit into lots of places. There'll be a huge amount of solar on the roof. We'll have like a little hatch where we can look out of. We're still going to have our gun hatch. We're thinking of a way we can sit on the roof of the camper shell as well.
For coffee and ginger nuts.
Exactly. Now, a few must-haves for us is we want to be able to heat up our water, and diesel's a very efficient way to do that. We're hoping to go with some sort of hydronic system, which means we can actually heat the air as well. So that'll be all our heating sorted from one unit. A must-have as well is aircon in the back. So we will probably have a floor-mounted air conditioning system, even if we don't have it in the cab at this stage. We want a huge amount of lithium power, or lithium storage power rather, so that we can power lots and lots of appliances, as well as like a workstation on the road. Our must-have as well was that a bed that could be always made up, and that it wasn't permanently in the way the whole time, because we don't want to be lying in bed during the day. So there's going to be a couch that will fold down into a full-size bed if we have guests. As Ange said, we've got a single bunk bed with the ability to have another second bunk bed above that with a crawl through. And yeah, we want a full-size stand-up fridge and freezer, as much storage as we can get. And then on the outside we can have LPG gas powered like barbecue stove for here in Australia, and when the weather's really nice we'll probably have an awning. Kind of trying to tick every single box within our budget.
And just as well to clarify, we will be doing the entire fit out inside and the cabinetry ourselves as well. We may need though some help with the wiring and the plumbing.
Yeah, the wiring and the plumbing
I can imagine.
Yeah, completely new science to me, so that'll be a real interesting one. The woodwork I reckon I can handle.
Yeah, so there's still like a lot of work to go, but I would like to thank you so much for your support on YouTube.
Yeah.
We've got like a lot of new subscribers recently, so thank you for following our journey.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's cool.
Thank you especially to our patron. We've got a small community, but it's growing, so it's amazing. That goes a long way, your support. If you want to support us as well other ways, we've got like our stickers that just recently came out. Like anything goes a long way. A comment, a like, we appreciate a lot.